Go live. Here we go. And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, well, you know what? There was plenty enough to be talking about when we started, and damn it if we ain't done yet. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage, sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Sparkle Darkle Pony. No, wait, wrong show. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name, Sagujin. There's a thing about that I'll explain in a couple of moments. Thank you for joining us tonight, and right off the bat, welcome to the first leg of the marathon. Joining us tonight from the Midwest of the U.S., Bridget, good evening.
Good evening.
Just a little bit off to the right into the... I don't even know what the hell we call Ohio. It doesn't really much matter. Joey, hi.
The heart of it all.
Yeah, that doesn't work, because where I grew up on Long Island, their slogan was, the heart of it all, it's got it all, Babylon. Yeah.
Is Ohio still considered Midwest, or is that, what is that?
It's considered Midwest, yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird.
Yeah, it's Chicago's boot heel. I don't know. Whatever. And off to the right of that, where there are some people who have decided that spray painting is a wonderful form of protest. Unrenowned Tech, hi.
L'chaim?
Yeah. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. For those of you that are watching after the fact and don't really know about it, a couple of lawmakers, legislators from the D.C. capital area had their front doors marked as if it was. Well, you remember how in that weird funky book they kind of painted the outside of the door with lamb's blood. Yeah, somebody went ahead and marked Mitch McConnell's door with "Where's my money, Mitch?"
Yeah.
Did they spell Mitch correctly?
I don't think that they even got that far. I think it was just "Where's my money?"
Well, you have to start with the word Moscow
Well,
to get his full name.
yeah, but
This
I
is
don't think.
But he really hates his full name.
I don't think it got that way. But anyway, hi. Yes.
Leningrad Lindsay doesn't like his either. So.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. So, hi. Yes, we're back. Yes, last week was a washout. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say it's basically because I was feeling like crap. Dallin's off, and the rest of us don't have the stuff to be able to do the show because I mean Dallin and I've got the technical stuff. The passwords is what I'm talking about. We've both got the passwords to everything, so you know it is what it is. So we're back. You know, I was what's up, bitches? We're back. So I'm probably gonna get yelled at from Tiny Trouble for that. Yes, Tiny Trouble's back from college still. So you know, hi. And I've already decided that I think a very very large cup of coffee is the way to start things off this year. So yeah, for those of you that have not started drinking coffee, you're over 18. You're allowed now. So, you know. And for those of you that are wondering, no, this is not demi-tasse in a very large container. I wish. Oh,
I'm just
God,
kind
do
of
I wish.
curious if you're willing to talk about it. What is Tiny's relationship with coffee? Being a college student, because it varies based on student to student.
That's true. That's true. He doesn't drink very often. Every once in a while, he's very much of the opinion of coffee the kind of the way that I do it, which is kind of like a mocha, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it's coffee, scoop of hot chocolate mix, creamer. Although heavy cream is really the way to go to, you know, top it off and it's good. It's good stuff. Anyway, but yeah, we've still got them over here. until, for about another 2 weeks, give or take. And then we'll figure out what's going on very shortly with the school, if they're bringing everybody back. I'm hoping things go correctly. I'm not saying one way or the other what it should be. I'm saying that I just want everybody to be safe. Period. Bottom line. That's all that matters.
Yeah, unlike those idiots in France.
Well, they're idiots all over the place, but we knew that.
Yeah, even Germany has them, so.
Yeah. No, it just happened to make an article on the BBC page that, the French police had to go in and break up a big-ass rave.
Oh, wow.
Be that as it may. So, welcome back, everybody. It's nice to be back with you. Joey, of course, is it's good to have him back because, well, let's face it, it's good to have him back.
He's the star of the show.
Well, at the very least, his mute button, which we talked about last night, that's a different show. It's a different thing.
You people give me quite enough alcohol for that.
No, but we definitely give you all the credit that we can, because.
And when we were trying to talk about the CMJ and all that other stuff, you were definitely missed.
Oh yeah.
Which is funny because my credit apparently is fucking fantastic now.
Great.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So,
as always,
yes, as always, those of you that are watching live, hi. You can join us and talk over on the live chat, which is all the way past Unrenewed Tech. I'm almost tapping you. I'm knocking on your window over there, Tech. Anyway, all the way over on that side. So, Stephanie, Felis, hi guys. Now, just really quickly, I was talking with Bridget before we came on air that I spent part of New Year's Eve night with the nice folks over there at Thank God I'm Atheist, which was one of the podcasts I used to listen to. I am not an active listener anymore, I will admit, but I had called in a couple of times. And my phone did not get picked up very well on the backside of Buffalo proper. So when I introduced myself as Chooch and Tribble, it kind of got really garbled and whatnot, so they kind of ran with it and said, Sparkle Darkle Pony? What? I couldn't really pick it out. What was it you said? All right, and, I just owned it. So I made a video for them, and I said hi for the New Year's Eve, and told everybody that if you remember back to episode 100, that's me. And there were a bunch of people who were on the live chat at the time for it who were just like, wait, that's you? Yes, it is. So, yes, I apparently have an alias for my alias. I don't know. Maybe that'll come in.
Go.
Yeah, maybe that'll come in handy later when I have to go into hiding again. I don't know. Maybe I'll just move into the woods further from where I live as it is. At 1300 Elmwood Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14222. Dial carefully and good luck. I still got it. Go ahead and look that up sometime, folks. Anyhow.
Don't look that up.
Huh?
It's nothing.
Okay. I'll figure it out later.
Blue waffle.
No. I did not mark this as not safe for work. You're not allowed to do this.
Okay.
Not yet. So.
Not yet.
So, being that we kind of took a little bit of time off, probably a good idea for me to go ahead and get back into the swing of things, because let me tell you, that's not always easy for me to do. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is actually going to start right now. And the word is cherish this week. And Felis is going to know very well that I use this term as a replacement for saying I love you. There are very few people I can say that to, because there's a lot of baggage that goes along with that for me. The word love we know full well that there are a whole bunch of different types of love. There's familial love, there's romantic love. But the word love for me, like I said, it's got a lot of baggage because there's a huge level of trust that goes along with it. And I'm not the most trusting of personalities. I've been hurt a lot of times in a lot of ways that are specific to me. And I'm not going to compare myself to anybody else. My pain is mine, and yours is yours, and everybody else's is theirs. And ne'er the twain shall meet. That's one of the things you should never do. You never compare yourself or somebody else's pain to anybody else's, because it's theirs. It's going to be inside of them no matter what. We know full well that I lost the love of my life. It's going to be 16 years this spring. The only other woman that I would have even thought about for a while, she ended up, she's also died and departed too young, too damned young. Lovely lady. So when I tell people that I cherish them, it's the closest thing that I can say to love. It's a hard word for me to say. It's kind of like being in the middle of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's the L word. It's not lesbians this time. I cherish people. And I know that I say it's a replacement word for me, but it itself has different connotations too. I cherish having people around me. I cherish knowing full well that I can help people. I cherish those that I concern over, that I care about. And those are different things. I cherish knowing full well that my idea of the tapestry of life is a metaphor that works. I cherish knowing people. There's sometimes being together is hard. Especially this past year, it's been incredibly difficult. In some cases, it's been dangerous, downright criminal. I don't like being away from people. I don't like missing out on the conventions where it's basically the equivalent of, a family get-together. Or family reunion. And we don't have that now, do we? Or at least we shouldn't. For right now, so much has been on hold. The word cherish means that you value it. It means that you want it to stay protected. I want to keep some people protected. I want them to be close. And it's difficult for me, of all people, to open up enough to be able to do that. So from me to you, all of you who take the time to pay attention, to find something worthwhile in what we do, and what I've tried to accomplish, you are cherished. You are valued. And God damn it, you are never, ever alone. It is episode, where is my title? There it is, 343. I was actually going to list it as 343A because, we passed last week. Look back, look ahead. We're not going to roll the tape on the year that was, but there are certain things that are going to be going forward that are carryovers. And it would be remiss of us to not make mention of that. Well, god damn it. Here I am. I need a tissue. And look at this. I'm
Brand new box. Haven't opened it yet, huh?
No, it's just the worst. Just it's empty. Great.
Dude, you gotta pace yourself, man.
That's not funny. Not power of zero.
I was talking about sneezing. How did you think I was talking about? You got a dirty mind, man.
I've also got...
I wasn't talking about using it as toilet paper.
I don't use toilet paper for anything other than the toilet.
Glad
Sure,
you
glad
clarified.
Yeah, I'm very glad you followed up on that.
Yeah.
What, you've never used toilet paper to blow your nose?
No.
Oh.
I don't. I don't nick myself when I'm shaving. I don't use it for that.
No.
Back when I was playing Kentucky and using leaves, but crumbling this time of the year.
Back when I was playing a lot of board games, back before the pandemic, one of the guys who's like myself, who has constant allergies and problems with his sinuses and such, he would actually keep a roll of toilet paper in his game bag, not for the restroom, but to blow his nose, because after a while, no matter whether you're getting like the ultra mega soft tissues for blowing your nose becomes so sensitive that even those hurt. The only thing softer than those are some of the different Charmins and other such toilet papers out there.
Yeah, I just...
So I tried it. He was not wrong.
No,
in the middle of hay fever season, when my nose was red and not because I was drinking, I took 3-4 sheets of the toilet paper to blow my nose, and it was softer than a tissue.
Joey?
Yes, sir.
More expensive.
You know what I'm looking for on here?
Was that a buzzword bingo card?
Not quite. Where is it on here? I thought it was...
Oh, God, yes, I know what you're looking for.
It's on here somewhere. Where
the Whisper Thin Shit ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Right there. Right there. For anybody that's wondering, what I've got here is the Friday night list. The list of things we're not allowed to say on the air on Friday nights. Mind you, only on Friday nights. So, yes, we went through the list. And, yeah, Joey, just so you can see it. See? Right there. That's 2020, 2021.
You're welcome.
The demarcation line, there is nothing from 2020 that we listed. Imagine that.
Whatever that was all about.
Doesn't help. Well, no. Okay. There are certain phrases that have been uttered on the Friday show.
Yeah.
As a result of either the author,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Or editor of the list, or something that just came up. Either way, every single phrase on that list has at one point or another either completely derailed or completely broken the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are certain things that on Friday nights we are disallowed from saying, and they go on that list. And at the end or beginning of each year, we go through it and we try to figure out which phrase or expression gets paroled. And I think we only had one parolee this year.
Yeah.
Just one.
Which one?
You'd have to look, shoot. I have no
there
idea.
It is. Okay. The phrase is, and Dallin, we attributed this one to Dallin. It is, pinch the tail, suck the head, go to hell.
That's the method for eating crayfish, right?
It is.
Yep.
If the seasoning's right, you won't go to hell. It'll be utterly bliss.
Well, see, you forgive me for wording it this way, the Jew of the group should know full well, crawfish and shrimp.
Dude, I'm not practicing. I renounced my faith long ago.
I know, but you're the closest thing that we've got.
And if I knew that the person I was talking to was highly Jewish, religious in their Judaism, and they were saying mean, nasty stuff to me and my son, or any member of my family for that matter, or any of my friends that I love and cherish, I would tell them, you know what? You wait right here. I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to find the biggest crustacean I can find. Come back here, and not only will I eat it, but I will suck its dick right in front of you because I know you're a gay-bashing bastard, too. And see how they respond to that. Granted, their logic and reasoning would not kick in at that point because they don't actually have that kind of organ. But it would still be funny to see the reaction.
Okay. Okay. Now,
does that make the list?
No, because it's not Friday night. However, the concept. Okay, we're straying way too close at this point. But I'll put it this way: the concept of a lobster with all of its little walking feet pincers grabbing onto your hair as you've got it like in your. No.
There's an artist out there somewhere that is now drawing that by hand on a notepad.
No, and that would be H.R. Geiger, and that's already been done in the 70s for several movies, so there you go. Hello, my baby. Hello, my... I'm sorry.
Hello, my ragdoll gal.
Yes, that's kind of the way.
Yeah. That was a great... I love Spaceballs because they made fun of so many things, and they did it with style.
Well, that's Mel. What are you going to do?
Yes.
So, speaking of Seeker, how do? So,
Hi, Seeker. Yeah, you should replay that one because I can't say that again twice if I try.
No, don't worry about it. So let's kind of deal with a couple of things that are good, okay? Because there are some things that are good. 2020 is now in the rearview mirror. Okay, let's start with that.
Are you sure? Because my calendar says December 33rd, 2020.
I was waiting for 11:59:58, 11:59:59, 11:60:00, 11:60:01. You know, don't.
There's a webcomic I like where they did the joke of they were doing the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, happy, and then they get cut off 0, -1, -2, -3, and the genius of the group goes, hold on, I'll log a tech support ticket, maybe we can get this updated in a patch.
Yeah, no, not happening.
I'm glad to kick it out the door that I celebrated for hours with the people all over the world and rang it in each time that it changed the new year for several different time zones. It was great.
Oh, I can see it right now. Bridget, look, there's nobody in the middle of the Atlantic right now. You don't need to open up. I don't care. It's another time zone. Here we go.
We started the call at 6 p.m. local my time. So yeah, I got to go through so many different time zones and watch them, and I was like, this is just so cool. And so I happened to last until California, and then we just kept it going. But it was so cool to just see different people in different time zones on the call doing their little countdowns, and then see fireworks, because they were like, "Hey, look at the camera, there's fireworks," and I'm like, it's only 8:00 here, It was exciting.
No, it's perfectly understandable. So yeah, the idea that 2020 is now in the rearview mirror is, in and of itself, is not a grandiose thing. What is, however, is that so many of us have been holding our breath to get to this point. We've been on a marathon run for, at the very least, the entirety of the year to get to this point, which is still, like I said before, it's still just a water station as we're finishing this marathon that we're in. And this marathon ain't done yet. It's going to be easier, but God, it's going to suck for the first half. But it's not going to be nearly as bad as what we've been through. So that's a good. I mean, let's face it. The new year is going to be better than the last year. Do you have any idea how low a bar that is? You need a 12-year-old girl on roller skates to limbo under that fucking bar. Do you have any clue?
No, the bar's even lower than that. You need to go up and find one of those scientific Antarctic teams where they use those core drills to take core samples.
Dude.
When the bit bottoms out, that's about where the limbo girl needs to start.
Dude. Let's mention a piece that sucks then, since you went ahead and said that.
Oh, you mean...
COVID made it to the frickin' Antarctic.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Section 230, but oh, sure.
It did, and that was like the last continent that didn't have it, and now they do. And I actually do have a friend who is down there. I mean, he's not near that camp, so he's safe.
Fortunately.
But yeah. But, fortunately. But yeah, I mean, I actually have a friend who is down there for the next 6 months working. So yeah, I mean, he's safe and everything, but
yeah, we talked about the
wow.
stations down there that if you go, remember, you have to volunteer to go. You also have to volunteer to have your appendix removed prematurely so that...
Just in case.
Yeah.
Because there's no medical help to be had. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered that one like several times with pictures and links and graphic detail.
But yeah, Ray has been going down there, for 6 months at a pop, for years to go do research and things like that. And
yeah, if I remember correctly, they can only stay down there for a short period of time too, because of the science agreement. So that way no country can claim it's theirs because they haven't been there long enough to make that claim.
Yeah, but yeah, I checked in with them a couple of weeks ago, and he's still doing fine. He's not anywhere near the encampment where the COVID is. So, I mean, that's good.
Oh crap, Seeker. Just sad. Think of all the First Nations in nowhere that still caught it and can't get help. My God, you just reminded me of the story of the guy who... Oh, where the frick was it? Off the coast of India. Who bribed people to allow him to bring the good word to the whatever tribe
the tribe that was isolated on an island, and the surrounding governments had outlawed that from happening.
Yeah.
And the guy went and did it, and then he got himself killed, and of course the Christian pity party came out of the woodworks. Oh, this is horrible. It's terrible. He died for his beliefs. We should commend it. It was like, you sons of bitches.
Yeah.
He died because of ignorance. He died from willful ignorance. Something that could have been corrected.
Well, he'd already been attacked once, so it's not like he didn't have warning.
Yeah. And
no, I don't. The willful ignorance part being his religious beliefs.
Oh, I know, but it's like they were nice to not kill him the first time. They just shot at him, and the second time, he bought it.
Yeah, the first one was a warning shot. Yeah. That was that hubris.
That's something else to think about right there. These non-Christian people who made it a point, such an eloquent point, that the surrounding governments outlawed people trying to go visit them, that they didn't want anybody, no outsiders. They've got their little island, they've got their little tribe, stay the hell away.
Right.
And they did it so eloquently that all the surrounding governments outlawed anybody going there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not Christian. So they were still nice enough when somebody broke the surrounding government's laws and the tribe's own rules of no outsiders, that rather than killing them outright, they gave a warning shot.
Yeah.
Okay? There's no excuse except choosing to ignore. That's ignorance. Or choosing to process the information, choosing to not process. They're shooting at me. They're trying to kill me because I'm going somewhere where I shouldn't be.
It's not respecting their boundaries
Mm-hmm. So
and
he
their
chose,
autonomy.
rather than processing that information of, if I go here, I will die. He ignored that data, put it out of his mind. I'm doing God's work. This matters. This book I'm holding that is questionable heritage and legitimacy and questionable whether or not there's any facts at all in it. Yeah, like freaking talking, whatever.
Potentially
Anyway.
killing them by bringing them some disease that they, you know.
Yeah, fortunately, if we can even say it that way, it was before COVID.
Yeah.
Had it been after.
Oh my
Well,
God.
we don't know whether or not COVID could travel the distance off the closest land to that island, because if the conditions are correct and it could transverse it through the air due to the humidity, because we know it travels when there's humidity in the air. We just don't know how far, because our government wouldn't allow testing of that when they were trying to test it back in the beginning.
It without a person bringing it over, it was far enough away. It would not have gone airborne. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from a scientific perspective. It wouldn't.
What I'm talking about, though, from the scientific perspective, is the lack of the knowledge that we could have at this point in time of how far it could potentially travel under ideal conditions. And if we had the proper groups in place and the researchers in place, which we did before a certain branch of the government got rid of it.
Yeah.
Because, a black man instituted it. Anyway, we would have had that information. We could have known, as regular people on this show, we would have had the access to the various medical journals and things like that are out there on the internet that most people choose to ignore reading.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have known that under optimal conditions, how far it could travel, and whether or not, based on more data that's available on the internet, the closest piece of land to that colony, that island, whether or not those optimal conditions ever exist in that place. And if not, then we'd know these guys are safe. All of the rest of humanity could die out. These guys are safe.
With no interference from the outside, they would be safe.
Exactly.
Because, as far as like humidity and all that, other stuff, about the farthest it's going to travel airborne is roughly 26 feet. Now,
of the variant that was studied.
No, I mean all variants. I mean, the new variant is extremely contagious, and the reason why it's more contagious is because I'm trying to put this in layman's terms. It's stickier, and so it's a lot easier to catch it and all that. The mutations that popped up in the UK and in South America, have some alterations on that spike protein, which is how it attaches anyway. And the mutations just make it attach more firmly. And so if you have a higher viral load in your nose and your throat, it's going to be more contagious. So that, that's why they're having such a huge outbreak with it and things like that. The original Wuhan strain that popped up over here in, January was, a little more deadly, but not nearly as contagious as what we have now.
Yeah, there's a couple items over in the chat, by the way. Seeker is just also mentioning, I always refer back to MythBusters, how far a sneeze can go and how many people can be affected by a runny nose. That was an absolutely delightful and gross exhibition that they did, and that was amazing. And I will see about linking to that, because that was... All right. MythBusters, to me, should be a show that continues on in perpetuity reruns on PBS. It should continue to live. It should be part of standard rotation during in between reruns of Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street. Because, I mean, let's face it, you stack, okay, Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, you stack that in there with MythBusters and Bill Nye. I mean, come on. An opportunity to instill such great values with kids of learning, wanting to find out why things go boom, or sniffle, as the case may be. But
do you know who got me hooked on science?
Well, I know
Mr.
it wasn't.
Wizard.
Oh, really? Because he kept
Mr. Wizard.
he kept talking down to his kids. All right, no, crap. To be fair,
I saw Mr. Wizard as a man.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any episodes.
To be fair, we don't really realize that he was talking down to the kids until we're adults and we're watching it again, and it's like, oh wow, crap. He's a dick, isn't he?
Well, when I was a kid and I was watching him, I knew that when he had something to say, it was serious, because he was talking about processes and things that happen. At one point, he was playing with electricity. At one point, he was using chemicals. And I took it as what it was supposed to be, a serious lesson. But I enjoyed it because he was making things happen. I had never thought, even as a kid, that I could use 2 forks and a battery to cook a hot dog. As serious as his instruction was, he had my attention. And I was amazed. And then they ate the hot dogs. I was like, not only can you cook it with it, it's safe.
But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it at home, though.
Did he ever use a blender?
That's all right. Now, see, that's a different web show.
It's a different web show.
I'm just saying.
I know, but they're okay. Hold on a second.
As somebody who has had dental surgery before, I have consumed a blended cheeseburger.
Okay, hold on a second. If we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna have a little bit of fun with this stuff. Let's cover some of the great shows that have really instilled the idea of science is cool and fun. All right, MythBusters, of course, is right up there. We know full well we've mentioned Bill Nye, Mr. Wizard, Beakman is also in there.
I love Beakman.
Will It Blend? Yes, is scientific, even though it is kind of, it's a commercial, really.
A little bit.
But one of my favorite web series for quite a while was, is it a good idea to microwave this?
Oh God, those kids! Oh,
somebody,
Yeah.
we need the list put together so that I can.
How
link
many
it to
microwaves did they go through? Something like 6 or 7.
Oh God,
more than
no!
that, I
They
think.
went more through. They did more than that. They did more
Those
than that.
used to be pricey back in the day too.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Microwaves were so expensive.
That's true.
And if you want one that has good random facts, and we'll post the link to this one, is the YouTube channel SmarterEveryDay. I mean, the guy was on a submarine, learning how they make pizza in a cramped space with limited storage and everything else. What it looks like when a torpedo goes flying out of a torpedo tube. Can you fire a baseball so fast that it goes through a brick wall? Yes. Yes, you can.
Yeah, the only problem that I've got with him is he's Christian, and every once in a while it feels like it kind of starts bleeding through.
I never said donate. Remember,
That's
what
fair.
you do with your own money is your own money.
That's fair.
I just said I like the things that he talks about, like when he was talking about, can we make baseball break the sound barrier? I'm sorry, there was nothing in the Bible about that episode.
All right, so let me try to put together the list over here. Is it a good idea to microwave this? Will it blend? Beakman, Bill Nye, MythBusters. Did I miss? Oh, Mr. Wizard. And we'll kind of add to that and make sure that we've got links.
And of
for
course, there's
web series.
Big Clive, which TP Seeker's mentioning.
Big Clive. Not familiar with. Big Clive. Oh, Crash Course. Crash Course has always been good. Veritasium? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I'll have to check a couple of... Oh my god, we're going to turn this into a science-loving episode.
Oh,
You know what?
and you know what? There's
Nothing wrong
also
with that.
Nope, nothing wrong with
here's
that.
another one for people who are interested in electronics and circuitry. Learn Electronics YouTube channel. The guy is a teacher, and he's got a lot of really good stuff. Like he's debunked the cleaning of a soldering iron tip. Somebody had put out a video a while back about how you could take a soldering iron tip and then hit it with, sandpaper and crap like that to make it all shiny and everything. And I cringed at that. And then he did an episode where he's going, no, don't do it. Here's why. Here's how you do it. Here's how you do it proper and all that. And I was like, see, I cringed and said no. He actually put the information out there and did something about it. I think he deserves a mention just for that.
Okay, there is that. TP, MacGyver. Well...
MacGyver.
I like MacGyver.
Hey,
You like the mullet. Who
Excuse
are you
me.
kidding?
Excuse me.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
MacGruber.
My nickname in a prior life, when I first moved to Indiana at my first job, they called me the MacGyver of the office because every time our freaking printer jammed, I was like, okay, let me look at this. Okay, anybody have a plastic fork and a paper clip and a rubber band? And I could get the thing unjammed.
And it worked. And that's the important.
And MacGyver wasn't wrong. MacGyver wasn't wrong in several things. Like, for example, I distinctly remember an episode where he had to cut a hole through something, and he needed high heat to do it, like a torch, but didn't have a torch. They were in some sort of junkyard, construction yard, whatever. There was a ton of rusty parts around. He ended up filing a whole bunch of rust, a whole bunch of aluminum, mixed it together, and made homemade thermite. And before that episode, I didn't know what thermite was, nor did I know that it was simply powdered rust and powdered aluminum.
Or, as they say on MythBusters, I'm going to mix blur with blur. And don't you figure out what this is, because that would be bad.
Yeah. Now, in hindsight,
I need to turn down my microphone. My
looking
microphone's
back
too
at that
high.
episode, the grains that he made with the file on his Swiss Army knife would never have combusted the way it did in the show.
Well,
That was
Hollywood,
staged. Yeah, so it's Hollywood. Yeah, you have to get the stuff that's professionally made of the two ingredients, and if you do that, you might wind up on a list. So best not try to go out and do that, folks.
Yeah, in this particular case, okay, I'm having too much of a problem trying to get the level on my microphone, because I keep looking every once in a while at the volume level, and the volume level sometimes is off into the red, and then it's too low. I'm trying to figure it. The list in particular that Tech is talking about could be the Darwin Award list. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Not only including death. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you mess with stuff like that. So please don't.
Yeah. Thermite. Will it blend?
Probably not.
Thermite dust. Don't breathe this.
Well, the thing is you still have to have an ignition source.
Yes.
So unless the thing shorted out suddenly and started throwing sparks.
Well, electrical,
Yep, rust hitting steel blades, that might work.
Yeah.
Especially if there's any kind of carbon contamination in there.
And we know full well that there would be. Mm-hmm. Because there's contamination. Anyway, so the infamous Mythbuster blur. Yeah,
See, that would be interesting if they got the Will It Blend guy and the MythBusters team together. That would be fun to watch because they'd be safe about it.
Ooh, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting. So, yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. So we got some good laughs to start off the year. That's good. That's good.
And I'm going to give you some good news updates about the, influenza outbreak that's going on in the United States.
Yes, you go ahead and do that because, of course, for well, there's going to be some downers that gonna have to
Which
talk about too.
no, it's not a downer.
No. We've got a couple
Oh,
of
yeah.
downers that we do have to hit.
It's
There's more than one kind?
well, this is absolutely amazing. I mean, the big fear was that we were going to have COVID, on top of flu outbreaks, causing all hell to break loose. Okay, COVID's causing all hell to break loose. Let's I'll be upfront with that.
Yeah, plain and
But-
simple. COVID bad.
But just to give you an idea of what the flu season is like in the U.S. right now, the cumulative data from September 27th until now, there have been 294 confirmed, laboratory confirmed cases of influenza A, and 426 lab confirmed cases of influenza B, and that's for the whole freaking United States.
Wait, how many?
That's low.
Whoa. Give me that
294 cases of influenza A and 426 cases of influenza B, and that's across the whole United States up until week 51, which is last week.
That's extraordinarily low.
600 cases
across the
About 7.
whole United States.
Yeah,
Now, where
because
I
people are
live-
social distancing and
Oh,
wearing
exactly.
masks and washing
Well-
their hands.
They're not really sure yet if it's because, the flu is, less contagious than COVID, and they're not sure yet if it's because of social distancing and masking, and a lot of people are still not doing that properly, or if it's being outcompeted by COVID. They're still not sure, but this is what the data says.
Okay, that's all right. That's a good question right there. But
And in my state, I'm almost done.
All right.
In my state, we have had 2 reports of influenza-like illnesses, which they're defining as like 100-degree, or higher fever, a cough, runny nose. But we've had 2 cases of that for the whole state, and laboratory tests showed negative for COVID, influenza A, influenza B, or respiratory syncytial virus. So it's just like probably a run-of-the-mill cold. 2 in the whole state.
that's impressive.
That
More
is
than likely,
amazing.
we're also getting better numbers because people are more than likely to go talk to their doctor, whether teledoc or in person, when they start getting those symptoms, because they may be afraid it's COVID.
Sure, that's entirely possible. If there, as was said, it's entirely possible. Forgive the pun, not meant this way. The idea that we're kind of freezing it out also by not interacting nearly as much as we used to. I mean, if you don't see hordes of people in a shopping mall right now, not like we had. So keep that in mind. What I wanted to ask you,
else? I was going to say, in addition to not only not having people have hordes in the shopping mall, it also goes back to a lot of companies and their current COVID, the policies towards COVID prevention. And that is, if you have any indication of a fever or any kind of symptoms that are even related to COVID, you're not supposed to come into work. Whereas before you had people going, I don't care if you've got the goddamn bubonic plague, you're coming into work or you're fired. Now it's, well, if I act like that and the news gets wind of it, my company's going to be shut down. So if you're feeling sick, you stay home.
Yeah, that's what it was like for us over here with the call
Except
center.
for some companies are still dicks. But
And Australia had a non-existent flu season.
Wow.
Their flu season was during our summer. That's their winter.
Right.
So they were all indoors.
Damn.
Well, they're not having COVID problems either, but they had no flu this year. And normally we go by what they have down there to formulate our vaccines here.
But
and
without a season for them, there's no way of really knowing. So you have to kind of go with whatever was circulating the previous year.
Yeah, there really wasn't anything to match it with.
Wow, that's something.
It's just amazing to me. I mean, I went to go look at the data and I was like, wow, we are not, there have been 0 reported flu outbreaks in any schools anywhere in the US to date. Nada.
Considering how many of them have been shuttered too, I mean, that doesn't totally
Yeah,
surprise me.
but there's also in the
That's
South,
true.
most of them are open and have been.
There's a whole other thing. Yeah, okay, so the question that I want to kind of follow, well, I was trying to interrupt you for, I'm sorry for that,
Oh,
was
that's okay.
we're talking about roughly 600 cases for the U.S. so far for this season, which is not over, but I mean, at this point in the game, do you have any idea what the average number would have been?
I can go back and look for what it was in 2019. If you give me just
Sure, while you're
second.
looking, this reminds me of an argument I heard from online where somebody had mentioned the statistics of Americans getting swine flu back when swine flu was going around.
Okay.
And we as Americans were taking the precautions that we could. You know, we were washing our hands and avoiding anybody who was sick and things like that. And the swine flu didn't didn't have a serious hold on the state like COVID does, or even the regular flu for that matter. But it was enough because it was a scary thing. It was hurting people. It was killing, could kill and all that other stuff. But we took it seriously to a degree. Now, they were saying, oh, look, swine flu did this, that, and the other thing. And, so, we should be fine with COVID. We shouldn't have to social distance and all that. And all I could say was, if we treated swine flu the way we're treating COVID, it would have been worse. What's the answer to the flu question?
Okay. According to CDC, last year there were between 39,000 to 56,000 flu illnesses, 26,000 medical visits, 740,000 hospitalizations, and anywhere between 24,000 to 62,000 deaths.
So anybody who says that COVID is no worse than the flu is now full of shit. Got it.
No.
Because we've blown
No, what
through
we're
those numbers.
saying is that COVID is a lot more contagious than the flu is.
And we're already taking measures to stay away from each other to prevent that one, which is having. That's bringing it down to what it. Wait a second. That's not even registering as like 1% of previous numbers.
It's like.
That's under 1%.
Yeah.
Holy.
I mean, like I said, the quote unquote outbreak that we should be having now is just not happening. It's not a thing.
Of course, there are people who would argue, and I know because I can see the argument coming.
Lab results, you cannot argue with the lab tests.
No. What the argument would be is, well, if we don't get exposed to the flu, that means when the next year comes around, it's going to be even more lethal than the previous year. Which again, we don't know that for a fact because it mutates.
I have an answer for that.
And I've got another answer for that too.
Smallpox was around for 10. Wait, what was it? 5,000? 5,000 plus years. So as far as the herd immunity for smallpox,
it took vaccines.
It took vaccines, and then we killed it in 20 years.
But the thing about influenza that you have to remember is if you've ever had it or if you have vaccines, you still have some immunity anyway. So even if we do have another strain come up next year, people still have some memory if they've had a flu vaccine. And, they will be giving out flu vaccines again next year. We just have to keep an eye on Australia, see what happens there. And... if they start having a shitload of people die from the flu, then we'll know that we're in trouble. But I don't think they're going to have that problem.
So here's the question that I got for you. As the resident medical expert of the group, such as you are, and I'm saying that for a reason because you're not a researcher.
Right.
Is it possible that we could inadvertently, accidentally starve the quote-unquote common flu into non-existence this way?
gonna have to think about that one. I mean, as far as the ones that are, currently in circulation, yes, but you still always have that risk of zoonotic infections, coming from
Sure.
birds and swine and things like that.
Sure.
Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if people were to mask properly during flu season, like they do in Asian countries as part of their culture, and maintain social distance and things, then we obviously would not be having a problem with the flu.
Hey,
Yep.
Joe, did you ever travel to a country where they made you take a typhoid shot before you went?
I know where the answer's going.
No, because we already had typhoid shots.
Administered anyway. That was just
Yeah.
part of it.
Why? Why would they give you those shots anyway?
Because the military gives you shots for everything just in case. Because
Uh-huh.
you have to be ready to deploy, 24 hours notice or less.
Yep.
Oh.
The way
You
that
have
so
to
they
be
work.
mission ready at all times.
Yeah, the way that Joe has described it a couple of times, and Joe, tell me if I'm wrong or if this is just too much hyperbole to be funny. This would be like a vial of the stuff that ended up injected into him at some point or other. It's a little battery. It's a little battery case, but a vial, a very large double-sized vial of stuff. Sounds about right the way that you've described it to me.
If it's cumulative, yeah. I mean, shit. When we went through
You
basic
go-
training,
Go
they
ahead.
made us even take MMR, polio, all that stuff. Even though we'd already had it, we still had to take it again.
You go in with 2 arms.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
I love the start of this story already.
I'm just gonna sit back and you go right ahead, man. I'm just gonna wait for
let
this
me
one.
mute.
You come out with 1 arm and this swollen mass hanging off the other side,
Well,
and about 2 weeks of the worst hangover you've ever experienced.
yep.
So Popeye with his giant forearms, that's where they were injecting him into, isn't it? Explains everything for the swabbies.
How they did us, I don't know if they still did this when Joe went through, because I went through like a long ass time ago. But they had an ear gun that they used on us, and if you flinched, it would cut you.
Well, then again, for you, that was also in the 70s, was it?
No, I went in at 86.
Okay. The only reason why I mentioned that one
He
is
only
because
looks like 27 to me,
didn't look a day over 39, but that's a whole other thing. The reason why I mentioned about
dark.
the 70s was
Mhm.
in the 70s was when they were doing massive inoculations. I mean, just people, just one after the other, after the other, after the other, and they were using those injection guns. And I remember that very, very, very vividly.
Yep.
But then again, this was also in the days where there was still money to go ahead into those programs to keep everybody safe. Okay. Think it's time to bring the downer into this whole damn thing? Let's start off with the idea that, God damn it, how much money would we actually need for people to go ahead and be, I don't know, safe at home? I'm sorry. This whole crap fest that's going on in my country about, well, I don't want people to be getting more staying home than they would be getting if they were on unemployment or going out and having a job. You're telling people to stay the fuck home. It is incumbent upon you to make sure that they can stay at home and not have to infect other people who are then going to be charged up the fucking yin. How much, Bridget? How much are these people getting having to be charging into medical stuff if they end up being middle line in a hospital at this point for COVID?
Do you mean as far as like being admitted inpatient
Yeah.
or anything?
Yeah. Let's say not somebody that's, oh God.
Are you talking about somebody with or without insurance?
You know what? Let's go without. Because I'm
Holy crap.
guessing that's... Yes?
It depends on how long that you're inpatient and all that stuff.
Is it fair to say 6 figures is not out of the ordinary?
Not at all. I mean, I've seen. I'm not saying that we got paid that much for it because insurance doesn't like to pay. But, yeah. I mean, I've seen some shockers like $400,000, $500,000 and more, just depending on how long they're in ICU,
A
how long
house.
they're on a ventilator.
A house.
Yeah, well, more than a house. I mean, especially for the area that
McMansion.
I live in, average, house price here is, for a, I don't know, we're talking probably 2,200 square foot, good size house. You can get here for $200K. So we're talking like 2.5 houses.
I remember back in our early shows, you actually pointed out, Bridge, that we in America, in our legal system, specifically bankruptcy court, specifically has a code that exists because somebody has medical bills that are so high that they're broke for the rest of their life with them.
Yep.
And they have to go bankrupt.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you, I mean, it varies from state to state. Your mileage may vary and all that stuff. But as far as like the states that I work for and in, if you happen to die because you cannot pay that debt, they will pursue your spouse and your kids and anybody else.
And in some states,
laws won't allow that, but 2 of them that I work with specifically do. So even dying will not get you out from under it.
There are also some states that I'm aware of that if somebody tries to come after you for a debt and it's not your debt, but you make a single payment on that debt, you inherit the debt in entirety. Even if it's a debt you may have paid off before, what's on that paper as that debt, that payment you made towards it, it's like signing an agreement of, I agreed to pay this debt now.
Well, it's a matter of if you take ownership of it then.
Yeah, basically,
even
that's
if
what
you don't pay a penny on it, they'll still go after you. Depends on the state.
Right. Some states, as long as you don't pay a penny on it, if it's legitimately not one of your debts, even if it was done by a spouse, but if it's not something that you co-signed on, if it's not something that you yourself are responsible for truly, then as long as you don't pay a penny on it, they can never come after you. But they'll make threatening phone calls and all that. And the most recent laws that have been signed in, thanks to head Cheeto's administration, it's actually going to make it easier. It loosens the laws of what is harassment when it comes to debt agencies calling you.
Well,
now,
I can tell you that, and I can tell you for sure that in the state of Illinois, if there's any medical debt and the person dies, they will go after that spouse and they will go after the kids. And the only way to get out from under it is filing bankruptcy. And unfortunately, yeah, we do get a lot of notices that people have filed for bankruptcy, and that's because they can't pay their bills.
There's another piece that I think is incumbent on us to make mention to, and Joe, forgive me for hitting you on this one because this hits all too close to home. The people who have been in the military do not get, and I'm still to this day furious about this, do not get full medical coverage with a good discharge. It simply does not happen, and that is absolutely, to me, unconscionable.
The only time you get full medical coverage through veteran services, be it the VA or local veteran services, stuff like that, is if you are considered 100% disabled by the Department of Veteran Affairs. If it's anything less than that, you have coverage through the VA for anything that is service related. Anything else is
You're on your
on
own.
your own dime.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got the scene from I've got the scene from Blazing Saddles in my head. Son, you're on your own.
And
And
they
it's
used to cover spouses too
Yeah.
for active duty, but they don't do that anymore either.
yeah, and to me it's simply unconscionable.
Yeah,
The man
I
is
agree.
hurting. He's alone. He's tired, and he ain't seen diddly squat from anybody down here.
This is another reference I don't get. Sorry.
Just the best Christmas movie ever.
That needs to which one? Because I don't ever remember hearing Ralphie say that.
No, not that one.
You see your eye out. You see your eye out.
Die Hard.
I'm getting
Oh,
probably
oh.
going to get sidetracked a little bit, but
You
it's
think?
just- yeah.
I'm sorry. Hi, welcome to Holy Crap the Vlogcast. Have you met us before?
It's what I do.
we chase the rabbit holes. Yeah. This. I'm still concerned about Supreme Court overturning the Affordable Care Act in its entirety. We still have to wait and see how that's going to happen. But Agolf Twitler had put out a tweet earlier this evening saying,
Should
"I
laugh.
got
Thank you.
going. Well, I'm the one who got rid of the horrible, horrible mandate and blah blah blah, and you can thank me for that." And he's not ever going to see my tweet because he gets thousands of tweets, but it was gratifying to just tell him to go fuck himself. And I did.
And he's not allowed to block you yet.
He's not allowed to block me. But the thing about these, wonderful plans that you can just, go out and buy yourself that are cheaper, I see those. They're not ACA compliant. And, they don't have to be when you buy them. And so, you've got some person working in a restaurant, 20, 30 hours a week that's having to, buy their own insurance. But one of the worst ones that I have seen over the last year, and I'm starting to see more and more of these, and I think they should be illegal to sell. This is just my own personal opinion. Somebody comes in for chemotherapy. They've got one of these plans. Plan pays maximum of $75 a doctor's visit, regardless of what it's for. So you have people coming in for chemotherapy and radiation therapy, and all their insurance will pay is $75. So the person is on the hook for the rest of that.
That I can tell
That
you
is
from experience.
unconscionable. And this is what Trump is pushing people to buy. And it just pisses me off.
From experience. With my wife, 2002 to 2005, the numbers, most people would look at and go, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have that as an income?
Yes.
Part of the reason we were firmly convinced, she was very firmly convinced, that part of the reason why the company that we had been working for at the time, I don't think that they exist any longer. So I'll name and shame them. It was Upgrade Corporation of America. Then it was UCA. Then it was UCA&L. And then it was SoftBank Services of America. Some people would recognize the name, but it was an inbound call center, and she was good at what she did. She was an account manager. She and I were very firmly convinced that the medical insurance was changed after her cancer treatments because she was the one on the far end of the bell curve, because it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money.
I mean, same thing happened to my husband at his job when we lived in Arkansas. It was a self-funded group plan, and they had, I think, 3 of their faculty members that had cancer and had to have treatment, and so their group was no longer eligible for coverage. I mean, this was before ACA and all that other stuff, but they could not get a policy for the employees at that school anymore because of those 3 people.
Because insurance companies are out there to do what every company is out there to do.
Make a buck.
Make a buck.
And as much as possible for their shareholders, and that's it.
It's the one thing that we shouldn't be doing in this country, which is anything health related should not be treated as a goddamn business.
That's agreed.
Exactly.
Now, to that end, also, by the way, and Stephanie, I did see it earlier, and I'm kind of coming back around over to you. Stephanie had gone ahead and said, these medical bills are what the UK is facing in the near future, and it is scary. The government is destroying the NHS, the National Health Services.
Yes.
I wish that we had Dallin on right now to talk a little bit further about this, even though we've covered it before. Socialized medicine is just an insurance plan operated by a government entity instead of a corporation looking to make a buck.
Yeah, it's nonprofit.
That's the difference. That's the total difference.
Nonprofit, and that's it. And if you want, perks, and you live in one of those countries, like the UK, Canada, wherever, you can buy additional private insurance policies so that way you can get upgraded to a private room if you want.
Sure. And the idea that people can get, just by being in the country, by being a citizen, that they can get at least a modicum of checkups and what's the word that I'm looking preventative or prophylactic medicines or treatments. That goes an incredibly long way in trying to make sure that the population at large is protected from the worst, or at the very least blunts out what could be ending up happening. And I know there is no such thing as a perfect plan in any way, shape, or form anywhere. But, as the expression goes, it sure is shit better than nothing.
Yeah, and I think that some of these countries, like the UK and Australia, is even trying to push this as well, going to our model. And that would be a mistake.
Yep. By the way, real quick, Joe, I know that you're in. Stephanie just said, the NHS is cheaper to run than any insurance scheme because profits are not extracted. That is, thank you ever so much, the exactly right word to use. Profits are not extracted. Yours, Joe.
I was just going to say my brother and his wife, they're both medical professionals. My brother's actually working on his doctorate. His wife is an RN. And I think they said it best. When I made the decision to become a doctor, or get on the road to becoming a doctor, I did it because I wanted to help people, not because I wanted to see somebody go into bankruptcy.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's exactly what we would want people to be doing.
That's the kind of doctor I would actually trust too.
Shit, yeah.
Every
time.
There's exactly one chiropractor in existence that I would trust in today's day and age. And that was because back when I went to see the guy, he made certain that our family understood that all a chiropractor is good for is realigning things that are out of alignment. They don't cure colds. They should never, ever give you prescription for any kind of medication. And back then, it was if they said that they had an X-ray machine in their office, run out the door. Don't come back, because they're just piling that onto the bill, because a proper chiropractor can tell what's out of alignment merely by sense of touch because they've been trained to. The only time that an x-ray should be warranted is if you've been in an accident and there's even a hint that you might have fractured something. They should know not to work on you and send you to a doctor to check for that stuff. And they're not for that. He did do alignments. We had legitimate problems, my mother's side, my mom and myself with my neck, that his services came in very handy. And the insurance back then didn't cover it. In fact, most insurances didn't cover him. But he had a reasonable rate. And we'd even call him to say, hey, look, something's going on. We're not sure if it's an alignment, or does this sound like an alignment issue to you? Because it seems to be similar, but not exactly the same as the problem we had, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. And many times he chimed in and was like, no, you need to go see a doctor. That does not sound like an alignment problem. Okay, thanks, bye. And he never charged us for the call. I trusted that guy with my life, even though, he's not doing anything life-saving. Likewise, I had a doctor like that when I was growing up, that the guy never sugarcoated anything. He'd tell you like it was, what was going on, what would happen, what needed to be done, and no two ways around it. And he worked, from what I remember of my parents' conversations, he worked with a lot of patients that couldn't afford his services too much. He put them on a payment plan. How many doctors you hear about that now? Oh, you can't afford the bill? Debt collectors.
You can kind of get away with that.
There are some. I hate to,
But they're few and far in between now.
Yeah.
I hate to say that this is what we've come to, but there are some doctors that are so tired of fighting with insurance companies and things, which I cannot blame them, because the reimbursement rates are crappy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Even
and I understand.
Even if you can get them to pay. One complaint that doctors have is about reimbursement rates for Medicare, because they're not very high. But one thing that I can tell you is that I have no issues with Medicare at all. If we send them claims, they usually pay within 5 to 7 days electronically. And if they've processed something incorrectly, then they've got a portal that you can submit documentation to or correct something or whatever, and they'll respond to it in 10 days or less. And it's usually favorable. They don't require pre-authorizations for stuff. Now, there are some things that they won't cover, and they have, you can go to their website and look and see, what's approved and what's not. But they pay promptly, and they're very efficient. There have been larger companies that I have been fighting with since March, trying to get bills paid for people with COVID, that I'm still fighting with, and they haven't paid a penny. And the thing about it is, there is, a certain premium that some companies are paying out, for case rates on COVID, like an extra 10 or 15%, but it's a flat rate, and it's for the hospital and not the doctors who are going in to do the visits, which is the part that I work with, is the actual physicians and not the hospital. So they should be getting paid for those visits. It's not included in a case rate, and they're not paying us anything. And Medicare, as soon as we file the claims, within a week, we've got money, and I don't have to fight them. And a trend that I'm starting to see now is some doctors are getting out of, fee-for-service insurance altogether and going to a concierge medicine model, where you pay a flat rate every month to them. And I'm not sure if they have a contract for like a year or 2 years or whatever, but you pay them, a few $100s a month.
It's a retainer.
Yeah, it's a retainer, and you go see them, whenever you need to.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. That's probably a lot easier to deal with than having to fight. And I can tell you, right now, that I had said previously that the reimbursement rate we were getting from insurance companies is around 10 to 12%.
Right.
this year's contracts, it's not even that. There are literally some charges that we have filed where, a bill has been like, I don't know, $38,000, and I'm not being facetious, a $38,000 chemotherapy bill, and they'll reimburse like $250 and some change.
You want to talk
And
about
I'm
these
like,
groups going ahead and saying, yeah, we want to keep as much money as we can.
and I'm like on the phone with them going, you paid us $250.78 for this drug, and then you are, you know, considering all the administration fees and the supplies and all that is bundled in that cost and not paying for those either. Seriously?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hit this really quickly. Reminding you that my information on this goes back to my first job in 1985 to 87, working at the local drugstore when I was a kid in high school. Reminding you also that money was worth a hell of a lot more then than it is now, dollar for dollar. What the insurance companies had done in several situations, and this was with a whole bunch of them. So, Blue Cross Blue Shield, GHI, oh God, I don't even remember what some of the rest of them were. Anyway, there would be question marks as to what was submitted. Did you send in the proper paperwork, actual physical paperwork? The numbers weren't printed correctly. They weren't legible. They weren't clear through the carbon paper, which, yeah, there were some that were done on dot matrix printers, so they were actually run off and sent in that way. Mm-hmm. There would be confusion as far as to how much was supposed to be paid, because there was confusion as to which plan the person was under, because maybe they didn't read the correct plan number that was in the boxes that went along with it. They paid the wrong amount because they flipped numbers from one side to the other on the ledgers, and it was just a human error. Sorry about that. We'll get around to fixing that the next pay cycle whenever we get around to it. Mm-hmm. We lost the paperwork as it was coming to you, the physical paperwork. There was also the small problem of, we don't think that we should be paying this because X reason. Then there was the one that pissed me off the most. The wiggle room of, we have a flat rate of what to reimburse you according to the national average for this drug, and we will deduct 10% from that for our profit, or whatever the number was. Mm-hmm. Reminding you, this was a locally owned and operated independent pharmacy on Long Island. To say that they went through every trick in the book in order to make sure that they didn't pay on time in a reasonable fashion is, remember, every dollar that they keep in their coffers every day is interest that accumulates for them. So they're going to do the best that they can to make sure that they do not get rid of as much money as possible, because it's my money. Oh, you want some of my money? Well, it's my money. Contracts? What's that? Well, every dirty trick in the goddamn book.
And the thing about the way that it works now is all of this stuff is filed electronically.
Now, yes.
And so there is no excuse of, oh, well, we misread it, or there's a typo, or any of that BS. And what gets me now, and somebody needs to do something about this, is used to, you could, send a reconsideration request, and they would say yes or no. And if you didn't like the answer, then you could get documentation and you could appeal it. And if that didn't work, then you could do like a second level formal appeal and request a peer-to-peer review.
Yeah.
And that is no longer allowed. If you even have it, some companies now, and I'm not going to name them, but they're major companies, if you just pick up the phone and call them to question something, then
They'll drop
they're
you.
coming back now and saying that was your one and only appeal attempt and you have no further recourse. That
And it's
pisses me off.
again, the term is unconscionable.
It is unconscionable. And see, like 2 years ago, if you called and asked them something, then if you didn't like what they said, you could send in records and you could write up, this is medically necessary, you authorized it, blah, 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 you processed it wrong, and file an appeal. And then now, this year, or at least, within the last couple of months, they're like, you've exhausted your appeal rights just because you called us and there's nothing more that you can do.
For anybody that wants to think about how insane that is, let me put it to you in IT terms, and Tech can back me up on this one.
Oh,
You ready?
I think I know where you're going with this one. Go for it.
This is the equivalent of having somebody told, we are not going to service your router in your house anymore because our first level technician already told you to turn it off and turn it back on again. You've already exhausted all of your tech opportunities for this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you continue paying that company?
No, I mean, and that's why we have legal staff on retainer is for BS like this, because you can have all the documentation in the world and say, yes, you gave this authorization number on this date for this diagnosis for these services and you approved it and you said it was medically necessary. And if you happen to file that claim and they're like, oh, there's no auth on file, and you call and say, yes, there is, it's blah, 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 find it in your system, then they can say, oops, you've already exhausted all of your appeal attempts. Sorry, and not pay.
If you want to see where we're going with health insurance in this country, the United States of America, go to Reddit. Go to the ScamHomeWarranty subreddit. It's hosted by a gentleman, who used to work in the home warranty business and talks about the horrible things that go on of how to deny claims, whether, what the model's based off of and things like that. And at one point, the person even compared it, how much worse it is compared to health insurance, because health insurance is a regulated industry in comparison. Mm-hmm. Now, if the regulations have become such a shit show, thanks to, let's put it how it is, greedy, selfish bastards that are currently in power, changing the rules for people like us being the average person, not somebody who's rich, somebody who's not part of the top 1% of this country. And we're going down that rabbit hole. It'll scare you. I mean, they pointed out that, they can get away with stuff that they couldn't get away with in health insurance. How much you want to bet in a couple years it'll be about the damn same the way we're going?
Well, I mean, health insurance now is a racket. I mean, their whole game is to deny, delay.
And I'm willing to bet the top performers in the industry, top performers in the business, are the ones in the authorization section that mm-hmm. figure out how to deny a claim.
Oh yeah. And I'm not gonna pull out any names here because I can't do that, and I'm not gonna say that it's a larger payer because it's not.
It's a payer. Just a payer.
Yeah, it's a payer. I can tell you for a fact that there are two I know of that they will get a stack of claims. They don't accept electronic claims. You have to mail them, on paper. And they will work through a stack of claims in a day, and whatever is left at the end of the day, they throw in the trash.
Oh, your paperwork got lost in the mail. You'll have to resubmit it.
Well, you call to get a status. They're like, it's not on file, and it's like, why is it not on file? Because you paid these 4 other ones that were in the same envelope. What happened to this claim?
There was a point where I had to deal with a health insurance that I don't ever have to deal with ever again.
And then,
Bite me, Aetna. I
but
had to
then,
get
we
everything
had.
certified delivery.
Oh, I do that too. There are definitely 3 companies that if I do have to send them paper claims, I send them certified registered receipt, and I get the tracking number. But even that is no guarantee. And we have a couple of people, working in my office now that worked for a couple of these places before and admitted, yeah, they were told that if you're not done with your work at the end of the day, stuff goes in the shredder. Oops, we don't have your claims.
And see, that's why I would always get it signature delivery. Because at the
Doesn't
very least, I could point out that their employees signed for it. It's their responsibility to hold the paperwork, and it's their responsibility to process
It
it.
is, but it still doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that claim's not on file.
And
And
it's
they
their
have
word
timely
against
filing.
yours.
And they have timely filing guidelines that vary from state to state. Some, states will give you a year, to file claims. Some are 180 days. State of Illinois, depending on the company, you have 60 to 90 days to file a claim from the date of service. So if you don't get paid and you call and they don't have it, oops, timely filing. We're not going to ever pay you because we didn't get it in time. And if you try to send it, I had one where, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars that I had to, and I will name this payer. I will call them out. Send it to Aetna, certified registered receipt.
Yeah, like I said, fuck Aetna.
No, but I signed it, certified registered receipt, which I never got the card back. Okay. And it was a huge appeals package and had records and all this other stuff. And somehow or another, it got stuck in Chicago and there was no further tracking information. And I filed a complaint with the U.S. Postal Service and said, yo, where's the package? Here's the tracking, and it's got HIPAA stuff in it. I need to know where this is. And they were unable to locate it. And so I had proof of where I had sent it in time, had the tracking information, all that other stuff, and kept sending it to Aetna and said, we did send this in time. Here is my proof. I've, sent it registered mail, and it's not my fault that it got lost. And they still didn't want to pay it. And then after the 10th time that I contacted them, they sent me a very nasty, nasty letter and said, you have already contacted us 10 times about this, and our decision stands. Do not contact us again. It was like a cease and desist letter, which really pissed me off. So,
and I bet you continued to contact them after that, didn't you?
No, what I did, since it was a Medicare Advantage type of a plan, I contacted a third-party arbitrator and sent them a copy of this nasty gram that I got from Aetna and proof of the documentation where I had, the tracking and all that other stuff. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, oops, we made a mistake, and we've decided that we're going to honor your appeal, and they paid my stuff.
I was going to say that, I was going to say, so you fed it over to the sharks, didn't you? Well,
I did.
sort of.
I contacted Maximus myself, which we're not supposed to do. That's what the attorneys were supposed to do, but I was pissed.
Okay.
So I Googled Maximus's information and got their fax number and wrote them a little letter and sent all this documentation. And they're the ones who went after Aetna and said, you will pay this or else.
I'm probably guessing that somebody over in the legal office probably went ahead and said, don't do that again.
No, my boss was like...
Hold it. Uh-huh. Don't do that again. But, that was so good. Can we remember this one for later? But don't do that again.
I got no reprimand whatsoever. My bosses were like, Gibson didn't get their cut and you got the money. You go, girl.
Well done.
And I was like, well, they pissed me off.
We need to hit one last story. And I'm sorry that this ends up being at the end of the whole damn thing, but we would be remiss if we did not touch on this one really quickly because it's important. Just before the end of I've been good, so you know what? Just before the end of that fucking year of hell, Luke Leto died at a hospital down there in Shreveport, Louisiana. He was the Republican Congressman-elect
For Louisiana, yeah.
He was supposed to have taken his office, and he was supposed to have been trying to help his country and the people in his districts. I will go on record for us all. We do not hold animus to people who are Republicans as a blanket statement. We hold animus for people who do not follow Wheaton's rule. The fact that those folks tend to be quite significantly Republican is the Republicans' problem. However, this gentleman left behind a family.
Like many people who have died from COVID have.
At
I'm not taking away. I'm saying he has commonality.
At the age of 41.
Too young.
No underlying conditions either.
41 years old. Forgive me for adding a little bit of personality into this one, onto this one. Almost 6 years older than my wife was when she died. I don't hold animus to Republicans as a whole. And at this point, I don't care that this guy was from the other party. He was part of a family. And we're hearing about these stories of people who are in their 50s, in their 80s. It's sad to hear about the people who are, up into their 70s and 80s. We know full well it happens. But 40?
Mm-hmm.
40, that's somebody that was T-boned by a drunk driver. 40 is somebody who was out skydiving because it was their big 4-0 and they wanted to experience it and something went tragically wrong. 40 is somebody who had an underlying genetic condition that just suddenly his aorta exploded. And nobody could have seen it coming and nobody could have saved him. This is what people have simply not accepted the reality of. That this pain and suffering that we have been going through to isolate ourselves, to not be social animals, where every fiber of our being says we need to have human contact. Tactile sometimes. Avoiding that is one of the only ways that we can save people. What's the thing that's gone around? All these big nasty men. We're ready to go ahead and take up arms to save our fellow human beings and whatnot. No, man. Just stay home and watch Gilligan's Island for a couple of months. That's so hard, really? I mean, okay, yeah, it's Gilligan's Island, but whatever. And people simply don't want to do it. Because reasons.
Yeah.
You know, back in August, I remember there was a CBS News article about a 6-year-old girl down in Florida dying from COVID. 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know, people were saying, "Oh, well, the young are fine. The young have robust immune systems. They'll be fine. We don't need to worry about the young. And the old, they're going to die of anything anyway. So they're fine. The middle age, well, they'll toughen through it." And it was this constant fuck it attitude. And I don't say that in a derogatory term. I mean, I have actually heard medical people call it that. This attitude of fuck it, and be dismissive of the problem because they don't want to acknowledge it. I understand we're social creatures. I understand that as somebody who's addicted to food, okay, it's one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to lose weight. I have the same tendencies and problems as a drug addict has, but in relation to food. The only difference is I can't stop eating or I die, whereas a drug
Right.
addict can stop, if they have the willpower, if they have the help, if they have whatever they need to make it happen. I ultimately can't stop taking in nutrients. I can do it for a limited period of time, but I'll eventually die from it.
Have you considered converting to breatharianism?
Oh God, don't get me started on those
You're
assholes. Anyway, the point is that we as social creatures, when we don't socialize, for those whose brains aren't wired in a way that makes them want to isolate under any given circumstances, people who have an extreme version of, say, like introversion, where they don't want to socialize physically with everybody. I'm talking about just the average Joe person. Okay. The average human being, regardless of what country, is a social creature that requires some socialization to survive, let alone thrive. And we also see it in other animals that are social creatures, where when they are isolated, especially the younger they are when they go into isolation, the worse we've seen where they'll actually curl up and die. But it shortens lifespans not doing so when you are that kind of creature. And it is harmful to our mentality, both emotionally. It's harmful to our bodies physically, because we go through like similar withdrawal symptoms. Some people more than others. And I was reading lots and lots of psychological lots and lots of articles by the psychology associations and the psychiatric associations on these topics. And, again, as a person who's addicted to food, I understand that when you are a person who is used to going out every Friday night, heck, some people go out 2, 3, 4 times a week, and suddenly they have to stop, cut it off, halt, brick wall, train screech into a halt. I understand how that feels. It hurts in so many different ways. But it's that or potentially death. The potential death of those people that you go out with, the potential death of their children, the potential death of their neighbors, your coworkers, the guy down the street that you don't even know, the little old lady who only feeds little pigeons in the park and sees her grandchildren once a month and gives them cookies. It's her death too, potentially. Because you go to the grocery store, you need to go in and get out. And what do I see people doing? Standing there playing with their mask, touching the cans on the aisles, moving their mask out of the way so they can scratch their face and whatever. As a guy with a beard, I wear a mask. I hate wearing the mask, but I do it anyway because I love people. There are people I love, and there are people I cherish, and then there are people who I hate. But, I have a full spectrum of emotions towards people. But what I don't actively do is I don't try to actively kill people. When I know there's an ongoing pandemic and I know that cross-contamination being me going like this, where I'm just scratching the outside of my nose with my finger and then touching a can on the shelf and then putting it back because it's the wrong can or it's dented. I have just contaminated that can. That's cross-contamination right there.
That's why I bleach all my groceries when they come in the house.
When I go get my groceries, they're in my garage, and then I sterilize everything from top to bottom before it comes in the house, because I have people I cherish that I don't want to die. And likewise, when I'm at the grocery store, if I know that that tomato soup can is not the one I want, I don't touch it, because I don't want to potentially hurt somebody.
Now this gives me the opening that I needed for our last item for this week. That son of a bitch.
There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, which one?
Take your pick. Sorry.
You know what? I'm not going
Sorry,
to hold
not
any,
sorry.
I'm not holding anything back on this one.
I'm right here.
You aren't referring to you, man.
How about this? The motherfucker who went ahead and took out vials of serum so that they could come up to room temperature and no longer be viable against C19, so that they could go ahead and say, look, it doesn't work. You absolute abhorrent waste of the water in between your cells. No
I'll never
one.
see the light of day again.
No one. And I mean, I hold no hate for anyone. But you motherfucker. You are higher on my list right now than Andrew Wakefield on people that I would very much like to see an obituary for, and tell me how high that level is. Trust me right now, you are one of the few people I would very much like to introduce to what is left of my animosity.
I just hope Trump doesn't acquit this person.
Well,
what we do know is it's a pharmacist that was working out of a medical center. There's criminal property damage. There's also charges of adulterating a prescription drug, charges of reckless endangering safety. There's all sorts of different charges that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the police have not released the identity, because they're still putting the official charges together and everything else.
However, the news agencies have gone ahead and said, we went looking through the police blotter and we compared the names that were on the police blotters alongside records of people in the medical industry, and we found one that matches the correct dates and times and are on both lists. It's amazing what Venn diagrams can do for you.
Well, here's the thing. Until it's officially stated, I wouldn't bother repeating it, just because they could be wrong.
Agreed.
However, more than likely, they're probably spot on, because they really went after this stuff. But there's a greater than zero chance that they're wrong. It's best if we wait until the official word comes out. What really gets me is that there were 50 plus people given the tampered vaccination unknowingly by other people in that medical center. Yeah. Honestly, I hope that state holds the death penalty, because I would say bring this person up on it. But at the same time, what I'm worried about, what truly worries me, besides my feelings of wanting this person to go through the death penalty, is that Trump may acquit this person. Not acquit. What's that damn pardon? Right, because some of the charges are federal charges.
They are, but he won't do it.
And Trump can pardon federal charges in advance. Doesn't even have to wait for them to happen.
He won't do it though. He's too busy, trying to.
Yeah, he's having a temper tantrum.
Well, he's too busy trying to, commit sedition and overthrow the government, and he's worried about his own friends and people and stuff like that. I don't think this is even on his radar.
I think one of the things that bothered me was they were talking about the monetary damages. It was like, screw the monetary damages. The lives that could have been potentially protected in the line of duty. This is like a person going into a police precinct, and the police officers have all received brand new vests that have the proper plating in it, so that not even a steel jacketed slug could get through it. An armor penetrating bullet couldn't get through it. And bulletproof vest. That's the word. Sorry, my brain farted. And then somebody who was working there overnight decided, well, I don't think bulletproof vests work, and I want to make sure that people understand it. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to remove the plating of all these vests, or as many vests as I can get my hands on without anybody noticing. And then I'm going to tamper with the fabric, the Kevlar, by snipping little pieces of it to reduce the structural integrity of it so that a bullet has a likelihood of penetrating it. And then when the police officer gets shot and they die, I'll say, see, bulletproof vests aren't the answer. How's that for an analogy for the people out there that, actually don't get it?
Yeah, and
Well,
Seekers.
I can tell you, he will be charged with felonies. He probably will never see light of day again. And I can guarantee you, he's not going to be a licensed pharmacist ever again.
Yeah, and I
Stick
can't
them in
see
solitary and throw away the key.
I can't see them
even
being.
even that I mean, I know how thorough the background checks are, even to licensed farm techs. He will never be a pharmacist again in this country.
But the harm that's already been done.
Yeah, there are
I
a
know.
lot of questions still. Over what's been said over in the chat. Also, what else have they tampered with? Don't know, because
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah,
But
it was 57 vials total last count.
But the point being is that, was this the first time that they'd done something like this? We don't know. Investigation time, which is going to eat into it. But that's, be that as it may, this is also something that they're trying to put safeguards into place so that people can't sue for these things, which is bullshit. But that's, again, another piece. Is this someone that is ever going to be licensed for anything again in the future? Oh,
No.
hell no. Because anyone that does a check on this person is going to go, you want to be licensed? You want to be bonded? Trust me, being bonded for being a teller at a bank. Oh, hell no. They will not cover that.
It won't happen.
No.
And I can tell you from experience that, I had a traffic incident, when I was, I was in my 20s, I think. And, I wasn't charged a fine or anything like that. My registration had expired. Okay. And it was, out of date by about 10 days or so. And I got pulled over for it. And they told me to go get my tags renewed, and I didn't have to pay a fee or a fine or anything like that. That showed up on my background check when I applied for a license as a farm tech. And they had questions, and I had to explain myself and provide documentation just for a traffic stop.
Here's something else about
He
background
will never
checks.
work medical again because licensing boards will catch it.
Yeah, quickly check.
Real quick, when you go to jail, the prison inmates, the population, always find out what you're in for. So in the state of Wisconsin, as of the middle of December of last year, the total number of deaths in prison due to COVID top out at a little over 9,500 people. Okay. In federal prisons, a little over 33,000 have died from COVID. And there's more and more light being brought to deaths in prisons because there's no vaccines. There's no way to, spread them out or anything like that. Now, imagine this guy, assuming it's a guy, gets put in the general population, and they find out that the reason why he's there is because he destroyed vaccines, the same vaccines that could be protecting them. And find out that maybe one of those guys that's in charge that kind of runs a segment of the population lost somebody that he actually considered a friend to COVID in the prison. How long do you think that person's going to live?
That's going to be really bad month.
more importantly, if they're really ruthless, how long do you think they're going to survive in pain over and over and over and over again? What kinds? I can't imagine, because I'm not that kind of person.
And he might get shanked a few times.
In non-lethal methods, just ways to hurt and cause suffering and drag it out.
Shanking is not necessarily lethal, and
Right.
sometimes the guards will just turn a blind eye to it.
And for the doctors working in the prison, makes me wonder, how firmly are they embedded in their Hippocratic oath?
Medically, I would say probably pretty embedded in it. I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah, because...
But, I mean, it's one thing to do no harm. It's another to hold off treatment for a while. He's not going to die of that blood loss.
Medical professionals, doctors, nurses.
I know, they're different. They're held to a different standard.
Well, even if someone were to come in with swastikas all over their body and all that other stuff, and they're Jewish, they would still treat them.
Yeah, and let's not forget, and Bridget, help me out on this one. Mm-hmm. It's technically a government job. You fuck up medically in a government job, there's a lot of overhead that's going to come down on your ass.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they'll give them extra care just to make sure that they're back on their feet and back in the population as soon as possible.
It's entirely possible. We gotta wrap up over here and just kind of get things going. Joey, you've had pretty much the least amount of airtime tonight, so I'm going to leave for you. Is there any last item that you want to drop in for us for tonight?
I'll be honest, at this point, it's hard for me to even keep my eyes open, but I'm just glad that, when I woke up the other day, my phone didn't go from, 31/12/2020 to 01/13/2020.
We'd have to name a new month.
Oh, please. I'm sure we can stick another Julian in there somewhere. But that's a whole other thing. I'm going to go ahead and call us now so that we kind of get out of here. On something approaching on time, because I was looking up podcasts on my Plex server, and I realized, hey, for a 2-hour show, there are a lot of shows that go to 2:20, 2:30. Oh, wow. We really have been running a little over time. Sorry about that, folks. Thank you for joining us all. As always, seriously, thank you for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to consider and think about for later. You'll notice I'm not putting any last item myself in here, so we're just going to move it right along. Tech, thank you. You take care of yourself and, the best of luck surviving with everything,
It's, as the saying goes, it is what it is, but we do what we can to help mitigate the worst of it as much as we can. And I truly don't want harm towards the vast majority of people. There are some people out there that need an example so that they have a better understanding because they're ignoring everything around them. Sometimes it's something as simple as, oops, you slammed your finger in the car door. You weren't paying attention. Now you're paying attention. Okay, that's it. We're done. Lesson learned. You pay attention when you close the door so it doesn't happen again. This speaking from experience. I have accidentally slammed my thumb in a car door and it hurt like hell, and I learned not to do it again. But sometimes Mother Nature sends us things, and if we're not paying attention the first time, we don't get to live and learn. We become the example. There's lots out there, and a lot of them never get a second chance after COVID. Pay attention, people. Please, for all of us.
Fair man. Thanks. Joe, you have a restful morning, because Lord knows, I don't think that you're going to have too much of a choice at this point, eh?
No. not long at this point.
Fair enough.
Actually, this is the latest I've stayed up in quite a few weeks.
Fair enough. I'm glad you were able to make it, man. Thank you.
Me
You
too.
take care of yourself.
No worries.
Bridget, you, of course, you take care of yourself as best you can. Know full well that I appreciate you being able to make it as always.
Only thing that I have to say is the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be hell. Okay. They're, best guesstimates models right now are saying that we could see another 80,000 deaths over the next 3 weeks from COVID. But, just hang in there a little longer. I know it's been really, really hard, but, by, probably, this summer and going forward, it will get a lot better. It's just the hard part is going to be getting there, but we will get there and we will get through. So all of you people who are, doing your part to, shelter in place and wear a mask and all that stuff, it's been hard on all of us, but there is light at the end of the tunnel and we will get there. Just hang in there a little bit longer. And I think that 2021, will end up by the end of the year being a lot better than what we just went through.
And
we can do it. And fuck Mike Pence.
And
fuck Trump.
And
the GOP.
And
the vicious bastards. And thank you, Mitt Romney, for at least trying to do the right thing and standing up and being a statesman.
Little bit.
Well, his recent statements that he has put out over the last couple of days, he is trying to do the right thing and encourage people to do the right thing and asking, what is the GOP thinking? Why are they doing this? And they have lost their way and this is wrong.
Fair enough.
And I have to give him props for having the guts to do that because, Twitler has been threatening everybody. So, I give props where they're due. I mean, and at least he was willing to stand up and be the one and only person to vote for conviction on impeachment. So he did try. You said little. You're trying to give me a hint and it's not registering.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, we're also one of the guy that needs to be told F you. With what looked to be like the COVID hands a couple of weeks ago. And
Mitch McConnell.
No, Moscow Mitch.
Moscow Mitch and Leningrad.
Moscow's bitch.
Leningrad, Lindsay, and
all those.
I don't know. Gosh, there's just so many at this point now.
Yeah. There's a whole thing with that. I did not cover it at the opening of the show, but yes, I have been keeping track, and as of the recording of tonight's show, it has now been 8 years, 6 months, 17 days since Raif Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crimes. He's still in, and we are still waiting. For those of you that like to get a copy of the audio version of the podcast, please take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. You'll be able to get it over there. We are working into trying to figure out how folks can get it through Plex, because apparently Plex is weird. Oh my God, ask me about it sometime. If you'd like to leave a voicemail message, of course, 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Please stay safe, stay warm, stay healthy, and as I've been telling people, may this year be kinder and gentler to us all. We'll be here for you again next week, unless something really significant should happen. In the meanwhile, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well, peace and long life. Live long and prosper, my wife. 15 and a half years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. As always, until the next time we get together, everyone, good night.